afternoon, dear friends. Paul is with you today. A big hello from Jerusalem to everyone. Today we arrived at a wonderful and very beloved and visited vacation spot for adults and children. This is a unique Jerusalem Bible Zoo. Its official name is the Bible Zoological Garden in Jerusalem, named after the Tisch family. Why exactly this family? Family Tisch, not some other. Because the donation of this family from New York amounted to $5 million out of $30 million, which caused the embodiment of the idea of creating a new zoo right here, in the picturesque White Valley, the White Spring Valley, which you now see behind me, and with whom you will soon meet in more detail. A new zoo was opened in 1993. Why is this place so unique? Besides everything else, and there are many reasons for uniqueness, it makes it such a collection of animals mentioned in the Bible. Today, the exposition of the zoo contains more than 200 species of animals. In total, the zoo contains more than 2,000 copies. In addition, the zoo has a program to save endangered animals. Talking about such places, I simply must remember the founder of the idea and the creator of the first zoo of Bible animals. This is Aaron Shulov, professor of zoology at the Hebrew University of Mount Scopus. His name is given to the central street of this wonderful place. The very first animals appeared in him in 1940. It was a small corner of nature with a couple of monkeys and one monitor lizard. He wanted to create a platform for his students to study and collect a collection of animals, birds and reptiles mentioned in the Bible. A lot of difficulties stood in his way. These were domestic ones. Neighbors so actively complained about noise, smells and the dangers that supposedly escaped animals could pose. And more serious, the translation of many animal names was unclear, and many animals simply disappeared in nature. Then, in addition to the biblical ones, endangered species of animals were added to the concept of creating a zoo. The first 4.5 hectares of land allocated for the zoo were not far from the old city of Jerusalem. There were, of course, complainers, but for 6 years the zoo still developed, and in 1947 already numbered 122 animals. In 1947 the zoo was offered a new territory of Mount Scopus. This is the eastern part of the city. Soon the difficult time of the war for the independence of the State of Israel began. The territory was literally shut and the workers were forced to feed animals at night, so as not to become targets for snipers. When Jerusalem was under siege, there was nothing to feed the animals, and the carnivores began to die out. Then they released those animals that were not dangerous and could feed themselves. The collection of animals was almost completely lost. After the war, in 1949, with the help of the UN, the remaining animals were moved to West Jerusalem. Aaron Shulov himself wrote that there were only 2 wolves, a hyena, a lion and leopard. According to other sources, there were 18 animals. In this place, the zoo developed until 1991, grew to 28 hectares, acquiring and expanding its collection of animals, soon becoming a favorite place for citizens. In 1967, 110 animals died from the shrapnel and random bullets during a 6-day war. Not enough money, and often work for free. Pioneers are always not easy. But soon influential supporters of the Jerusalem Zoo appeared. in particular the mayor of Jerusalem, Teddy Kollek. He became an active fundraiser for moving the zoo to a new place and development into the level of ultra-modern attraction for any segment of citizens and for religious and secular Jewish and Arab families. Let me remind you once again, in 1993, a new ultra-modern zoo was opened. The creators of the zoo abandoned the traditional concept of cage and aviaries for animals and created an amazing structure where animals are separated from visitors by ditches, bridges and glass windows. And in case of cold weather, such aviaries are equipped with special shelters for animals. This is one of my favorite places in the zoo, Artificial Lake, where you can see at the same time white and pink wonderful flamingos, duck, pelicans, swans of different colors, and other birds. The pink color of these wonderful flamingo birds comes from feeding on small red crustaceans that contain a carotenoid. In the zoo, it is impossible to provide the same content of carotenoid in the feed as they consume in nature, therefore food carotene is added to their feed. Parents feed young flamingos with bird milk, which is colored pink due to the bird's nutrition in wildlife. This food is secreted by special glands in the esophagus of adult birds and is nutritionally comparable to mammalian milk. Among the highest priorities, the zoo set as its goal the conservation of endangered species. This category includes the species mentioned in the Bible that have disappeared in modern Israel. And on this list of animals were the Asian lion. It is believed that such were here 800 years ago, the Syrian brown bear, a subspecies of which is introduced in the mountains of Syria, the Persian leopard, Nile crocodile, Iranian doe. There is a whole reintroduction program, i.e. the return to nature of endangered species. As the doe desires for streams of water, so my soul desires for you, God, the 41 sons of King David. The Persian doe, also called Mesopotamian or Iranian, became extinct in the landscape of Israel at the beginning of the 20th century, and many thought that this species of animal no longer exists. However, in 1956, in the southwest of Iran, about 24 individuals were discovered. This discovery is stunning conservationist. A program was proposed to set the Persian fallow deer. A pair of then-caught males in Iran was transported to Germany. After 20 years, the Israel Nature Park Authority asked the Prince of Iran to donate several Iranian fallow deer to restore the population. The Iranian prince was surprised, but agreed. A group of scientists went to fallow deer to Iran, and that was in 1979. The Israelis arrived just at the start of the Islamic Revolution, still managed to catch and save 4 fallow deer, and only females. Females arrived in Israel on the last plane from Iran. Subsequently, 2 males were brought from Germany. Now in Israel, in the areas of the Galilee, with water sources and lush vegetation, several hundred of these fallow deer released into the wild live. Israel has the world's largest population of this beautiful animal. The oryxes that you see now were extinct in the wild. In Israel, that white Arabian oryx lived until the 30s of the 20th century. In the 70s of the 20th century, the last wild white oryx in the world was unfortunately killed. But the oryxes remained in zoos. It is believed that oryxes are mentioned in the Bible once, in the book of Deuteronomy, among the animals that Jews are allowed to eat. Deer and chamois and buffalo and deer and bison and oryx and camelopard. Therefore, the Israelites decided to take up the restoration of the population of these beautiful animals and have succeeded enough in this. The biblical zoo also has rare ibex antelopes that live in the African desert and have less than 250 animals left in wildlife. Surrounded by the hills of the Malcha and Givat Masoah districts, the zoo occupies a valley with an area of 25 hectares of land, and there is a plan to expand its territory to 400 hectares. It is noteworthy that the landscape of the zoo uses local shrubs and plants of the Holy Land, many of which are mentioned in the Bible. And the main routes pass through two levels, low and upper. The zoo is very convenient for people with disabilities. There are no stairs at all. Now behind me you see just the Givat Masoah district, where my family and I live for almost 13 years in Jerusalem. This graceful pair of Buhara deers have been living in the zoo since July 2016. And in this area of Givat Masoah, there is even a wonderful observation platform overlooking the Bible Zoo. You can, in principle, observe birds and sometimes see animals. And we often went out with children to this site and admired the beauties of this wonderful landscape and panoramas. An interesting fact is that the zoo used the kashrut principle. Here the principle of tithing is applied. Concluded at one time by Aaron Schuller that some Jewish campaigns that they tithe the zoo according to the laws of the Torah, Old Testament. At the time of the temple in Jerusalem, tithes were placed upon the priests of the temple and their animals. And after the destruction of the temple, the rabbis decided that tithing cannot be used and must be destroyed. But Professor Schuller found an interesting way out. The animals of the zoo were sold for a nominal fee to Cohen, that is, those who bear the names Cohen and Levi are descendants on the priestly birth, so that they could be given tithing products. Thus, zoo animals receive almost a ton of selected vegetables and fruits every day through religious advice, and meat and fish for carnivores and provided by kosher butchers. Fishermen and veterinarians. Branches of breadfruit, date palms and olive directly from trees grown in the zoo are also used for animal food. And for the Jewish holiday Passover, the entire zoo is cleared of leaven. Animals that eat baked goods are fed with matzah, and birds instead of grain with rice. We present to your attention a platform called Africa. Here lives giraffes, zebras, rhinos, wildebeest, and of course ostriches. The giraffe population in the Bible Zoo is quite small, and in the wild of these animals there are about 12,000 copies left. They are facing extinction, as there are fewer and fewer places where they could live. In 2018, another calf was born here. Every time a new baby is born in the zoo, it is a huge joy, and everyone immediately begins to care about the question, what name will he get? Sometimes the process of choosing the right name takes a lot of time. With this calf, everything was different. On the night of the Eurovision finals in 2018, a calf was born in Lila's Giraffes. The winner was the Israeli singer Netta with the song Toy. Therefore, when on Sunday the zoo employees came to work, it was already clear to everyone how the baby would be called. So, the newborn got the nickname Toy by the name of the song that Netta performed. The newborn weighed 100 kilograms. Her height is 160 centimeters. She is a third-generation Israeli woman both her mother and her grandmother were also born at the zoo, but her great-grandmother worked on the savannah in South Africa. When the female giraffe grows up, her growth will reach about 5.5 meters, and the weight will exceed 1 ton. 3 weeks after birth, she managed to get so strong that it was decided to release her on the side with older relatives. The elephant corner at the zoo appeared in 1993, thanks to the mayor of Jerusalem, Teddy Kollek, who was raising funds to buy Asian elephant females in Thailand at a price of 50,000 per individual. In September 2001, the zoo also received a 5-year-old male elephant from the Israeli safari. We have a corner of nature enormous size under the city of Ramat Gan, in the vicinity of Tel Aviv. The zoo of this elephant was called Teddy, and one of the elephant tamer in honor of the mayor and his wife. Since the male elephant Teddy was too young to get offspring, and they really wanted to get offspring, they used an elephant named Emmet, a favorite of the public at the London Zoo, to artificially fertilize, and only then the Asian elephant tamer was artificially fertilized. Over the course of 21 months of pregnancy, she underwent ultrasound scans dozens of times. The doctors at the Hadassah Obstetrics and Gynecology Department analyzed elephant blood samples to monitor the entire process and predict the onset of labor, the timing of which was determined to the nearest day. The baby elephant was named Gabi in honor of Gabi Eshkar, the main veterinarian of the baby elephant. Gabi took an active part in preparing the birth of the baby elephant, but did not wait for this joyful event. Shortly before the birth of the baby elephant, Gabi Eshkar died unfortunately in a car accident. In his last photograph, he was captured at the time of ultrasound procedure. On that day, analysis showed that the fetus was absolutely healthy, and in a day Gabi died. His last words was an enthusiastic exclamation, which was published in the Jerusalem Zoo newspaper. "We will have a baby." More than 350,000 people in 108 countries in the world watched the birth of the Gabi, thanks to a video broadcast on the zoo's website. A baby elephant weighing 19 kilograms was born early on Saturday morning, December 10, 2005. When the elephant was born, the elephant trained, hugging a woman in labor. The tears in her eyes said, "I myself am the father of a large family, but today I don't know at what event I was worried more, during the birth of my wife or when Gabi was born." Of course, he soon became a favorite of visitors. On December 15, 2006, the zoo celebrated Gabi's first birthday with balloons and gifts for visitors and 100-pound cake for Gabi himself. When Gabi was 5 years old, he was transported to Turkey. The Bible does not mention this animal, but refers to ivory. It looks like an elephant is looking for right and hidden in a special feeding trough, skillfully using its trunk and not finding anything with a noise, calls on the workers to give something tasty. Quite often pilgrims ask me, what did the prodigal son eat in the parable that Jesus Christ tells? And here we see the carob tree in the Bible zoo. There are the ready horns that are mentioned in the parable, but sometimes they are not correctly understood, taken vermicelli for appearance, and this is actually a carob. You see, it has a lot of fruit. Well, what Bible zoo will do without Noah's Ark? You see behind me a model of the very biblical Noah's Ark, which is used here in the zoo as a center of entertainment sightseeing programs and educational ones, where children can watch 3D films, see an exhibition of interesting paintings by artists, and finally buy ice cream. Meet the crow dove from New Guinea in the tropical bird pavilion. Suddenly he gave me a very warm welcome and for a long time did not leave me alone. We name it Phoenix. This is a huge pavilion with the tropical birds. The bird is biting me. This wonderful bird of paradise came to greet me. Please note that she has a very beautiful plumage. Hello, what is your name? I think this bird is clear from the tropics, crown pigeon, found in New Guinea. Hi, you will be the decoration of our film. So, the main character of our plot is a wonderful tropical bird. Resident of this enclosure, they came up to say hello to me. Look, we had such a close acquaintance with her. Hi, you like my pants? Yes, exactly. They are very tasty. Perfectly. May I pet you? Hey! So I stroked her and she completely trusts me. This is a good animal. In the tropical pavilion, where the unique temperature and humidity environment is created close to the real tropics, we also met these wonderful inhabitants. This is a bird of prey pavilion. They are also mentioned in the Bible as birds that are forbidden to eat. You see how they literally in the open space among the figs and sit on the stones behind me. Mentions of birds is quite common in the Bible. For example, a sparrow and shallows are mentioned in Proverbs. As the raven, a peacock and a hawk in the book of Job. Ravens brought bread and meat in the morning and bread and meat in the evening to the prophet Elijah. And the dove is mentioned in the book of Genesis and the Gospel of Matthew. Also mentioned hawks, vultures, kites, eagles, herons, swans, ibises, gerfalcons, owls, eagle owls, and other birds in the book of Deuteronomy in the chapters of the prohibition of the use of these animals for food. The zoo also has aviaries with monkeys. Each breed has its one aviary. There is chimpanzees, who even have their one names, and they can be recognized by visitors to the zoo. There are also mandrills baboons, and there is a completely new pavilion with orangutans. Luxurious handsome Persian leopards can only be seen through the glass. These wonderful animals lived in Israel until the 6th of the 20th century, even in the area of Jerusalem, the Judean desert and Galilee. And today in the Negev desert in southern Israel there are about a dozen individuals left in wildlife. Syrian brown bears are also animals that lived on the territory of the Holy Land in the Bible until recently. There are stories related to these animals in the biblical story. Bears are famous beggars. See how he stood on his hind legs waiting for a treat. To make him stand on his hind legs, a visitor showed him a cucumber, but did not give him, as feeding the animals by visitors is strictly prohibited in the Jerusalem Zoo. The beautiful red panda is a decoration of the zoo exposition and has been living here since 2005. It resembles both a fox and a dog, and a cat at the same time. Lives in an aviary behind glass. The Jerusalem Zoo bird collection includes over 100 bird species. The Bible Zoo in Jerusalem is a great place to relax for the whole family. You can spend the whole day here, watch animals, play with children, and of course have lunch, comfortably sitting in the specially equipped places for this. Here they manage to combine various ecosystems: the tropics, the African savanna, the mountains of the Judean desert, and others. An unexpected and great luck awaited us in the aviary with lions. More recently here, on the eve of Jerusalem's Day, kids buried a charming couple of lion cubs. Zoo workers near the enclosure even placed many signs asking them to remain silent so the lioness would not be worried. At first, the lioness and the lion cubs were resting alone. We did not know that lion cubs appeared, and what they saw was a joyful surprise. These are Asian lions on the verge of extinction in wildlife. Only 500 of these animals are free. In zoos around the world, another 300. One of the main causes of the extinction is the great difficulty in surviving in the first weeks of birth, and human persecution also entails the disappearance of these animals. The London Zoo has a center to restore their population. For the year around the world, 13 lion cubs were born. Our zoo also contributed, as you see. While we were moved, looking at the face of lion cubs, the head of the family appeared. And this is Leo, the king of animals. What else can I say here? This is he and his family at the Bible Zoo. This uncrowned king appeared here 5 years ago. His name is Gyr. He arrived from Switzerland. A year later, a lion named Yasha arrived from Germany. Well, now we have a wonderful opportunity in the open air to admire this amazing family. Gyr seems to love his little ones very much. It was this type of lion that was found in Judea 800 years ago. This animal still lived on the territory of Israel. Now there are only here in the zoo. The last lions were taken to Europe by the Crusaders. In the biblical narrative, the lion is mentioned more than other animals. In the Hebrew language of the Bible, 6 different names are used for its name: Lavi, Laish, Ari, Aryeh, Shachar and Kafir, and even the female forms as Levi and Laisha. The most memorable biblical lines are the line from the book of Judges, who fell victims to Samson, and the lines that did not touch to prophet Daniel. In the culture and history of ancient Israel, the lion occupied an important place. It is a symbol of the tribe of Yehuda and the royal house of David. Today, a lion standing on its hind legs reigns in the city court of arms of Jerusalem. In Christianity, the lion is a symbol of the evangelist Mark. Dear friends, Paul was with you. Thank you for your attention. I hope you were inspired and pleased with the trip to the Bible Zoo in Jerusalem. All good health, good mood, and see you soon. Do not forget to click on the bell to receive notification on your videos, article likes and write comments. Invite everyone to provide all possible assistance to our channel, to issue a monthly sponsorship subscription. Now under each film and on the main page of the channel there is a button to sponsor. You can also help the authors of the channel one time by clicking the heart-shaped button under any video. I also invite you to my private tours throughout Israel. But this is not all. Do not rush to leave the plot. We present to your attention the musical composition of the art group Westernist called I Love Boogie Woogie, where the artists are animals of the zoo.